Welcome back, everybody. Showing us how to keep our fall bounty fresher for longer with a DIY produce rack that's very cool is Ken.
Hello.
Welcome, Ken.
This is a completely self-serving project.
Why is that?
Well, this time of year, you know, feeding 5 people, and we get our produce box, but then we also, farmer's market, I love to go this time of year because there's so much great stuff out there. And then we have our fruit trees up in the country are like, and it won't all fit in the fridge. I have like brown paper bags everywhere, stuff in the garage.
Have you ever considered actually selling at a farmer's market? Because I think you have enough fruit and vegetables to
sell. Take a page out of Toya's book, start selling them for $1 at school.
I'm kidding. All right, tell us what we need to make this.
All right, so what we're gonna need are 2 pieces of wood, and what I have here, you can either cut plywood or use 1x12s, which is what I have.
Okay.
Cut about 4 foot long, really depends upon the space you have, and then some 1x. If you don't have 1x, you can use pieces of scrap wood, what have you.
So far, really easy.
Really easy. 3 market baskets, a stencil, and some paint. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, so let's do it.
So what I did was I lined up my 2 boards. I put my cross pieces. Now, what you want to do to sort of get a nice plank feel is just get any kind of scrap piece of wood, put that between, and just sort of.
There you go.
And that's going to give you a nice sort of consistent gap between them.
Okay.
That's a nice little trick. And then all you're going to do is line up your board. Debbie, you want to give me a hand here?
Oh, sure. Oh, this is exciting. I get to do this time?
There you go.
I love this. Could you use, this sort of looks like an old shutter. Could you use shutters?
Well, the only reason I'm doing this is because we did not have any old, there you go. We did not have any old wood around. But I think, hold.
What's happening with this guy? There we go.
There you go. Put it in first.
Thank you.
There you go. There we go.
Okay, there's one.
We didn't have any old wood around, but in an ideal world, I would use like an old shutter, old fence planking, anything like that, because then you're going to get this sort of nice rustic sort of
crate.
Interest. An old crate, an old pallet, any of that would work. So you do that on one side, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, this is one of those things where don't stress too much about how it looks on the back because
you're never going to see it.
You're really not going to see it at all.
But I also like that you pre-drilled the holes. Do you want to go this one or this one?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Pre-drill the holes because when you're dealing with 1x, if you go straight in, it could easily crack it. So do yourself a favor, go ahead. And so basically, by doing that, you've created your sort of plank of wood.
That's nice.
Super easy. Super easy.
I love that. Okay.
So now, if you're using an old shutter, planks of wood, an old fence, you can skip this step. But because I was using the plain 1x, I wanted to give it a sort of rustic farm look.
I like it.
So you've seen us do this before. This is a layer of red paint and then just a dry brush of black. And then if you want to get that sanding block, all you're going to do is, as I've already done here, is just hit it.
Oh, just in random places.
Random places, and that's really going to sort of like make it. You want to especially
chic, right?
See how we got the edges a lot to really where it would. Right, that's perfect.
And then you can file a nail if you needed to, just like one of your nails going.
Heels of your feet, just get a whole bunch.
Give yourself a manicure and pedicure when you're done. But depending on what your color scheme is for your kitchen or your house, you could really do this any color.
Right, or you could even stain it. But again, if you're lucky enough to have old wood, leave the old wood.
That's nice. I love that. Oh, and look, and you can see the red paint coming off here, so you're really actually doing. Okay.
So now for the stencil, I just went online. I found a farmer's market stencil. You don't have to do this. If you have nice handwriting, you could write your family's name at the top. You could use applique wood letters, just something to give it some little charm. You saw me stencil last week. Again, I really recommend a short stippling brush, very light amount of paint.
That's a great paintbrush.
It is $8.
It's really good.
Makes all the difference. Go ahead and take that off for me, could you?
Which is beautiful, and I love also that it's not perfect because you want it to look vintage.
Exactly. This is one of those things where you can't really mess it up. If you mess it up, you've actually done good because you want this to look old and vintage.
Look at that. Look how pretty that is, Ken. I love that. Yeah, I like the stencil. I feel like the only person here who could do the letters beautifully would be Paige.
Right, exactly. I can't, I get a stencil.
Yeah, I mean, she has the most beautiful handwriting.
Now, to hang this, I'm just going to show you here on the back. What I've done here is I've gotten a French cleat. I've put it onto our cross piece, and I put another one onto our wall up here. The great thing about that is you get the French cleat even. You don't really have to worry about anything else, and just slide it right down.
And we should mention, we put some screws in here, or some nails, so you can hang the basket.
Exactly.
Right?
If you want to pass me the first basket here, what I've done is I went and I got my market basket, and what I did is I just measured, I looked at where these little rings were, if you can see that, and that is where I put the holes. And then all you're going to do is just slide those little screws right onto those holes. And what's great, people think that they need to keep all of their fruit like in the
refrigerator.
refrigerator.
That's actually
So
not the best
true.
thing to do. You have really great tips on how to keep your produce fresher for longer. And it's interesting because I always find, how do people not know this?
Right, exactly. You know, right. People think it needs to be in the refrigerator, but like apples, stone fruits, melons, like cantaloupe, honeydew, all of those are perfectly fine, if not better, left out on the counter.
Exactly. As is, by the way, asparagus.
Asparagus. The key with asparagus, folks at home, so you know this, don't put it in the fridge. Moisture will make the tips go nummy. Mason jar, a little bit of water, and then just nestle that in your basket.
And do the same thing with your basil.
Right, exactly. Corn, best way to do corn, if you get it from a farm market, cook it that night, because it's going to be the sweetest.
Yep.
If you can't, keep it in its husk and keep it at room temperature.
Stays a long time. And the bananas, here's a little tip for your bananas. I love this. You know, you're at the market and you think, why did they wrap the bananas at the top with that plastic?
That little piece of plastic right there.
There's a reason.
Ethanol comes out of the stalks, and ethanol will make fruits ripen fast. So if yours are not wrapped in plastic, wrap a little bit of plastic. That'll keep them from making everything else too ripe. If you have something you want to ripe, get a banana, put it in a bag with a peach paper bag. It'll ripen up right away.
Yeah, exactly. And the potatoes?
Potatoes, keep them in the dark. So sweet potatoes, white potatoes, put a little canvas bag, tie it up. That'll keep them from sprouting.